welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm showing a small art supplies haul and also showing you what I took to my trip to London. So last week I went to London and visited the London Graphic Centre and Choosing Keeping. We also went to see the Cezanne exhibition at the Tate. So it was a really lovely day and I wanted to show you what I bought. I'm trying to be a bit more conscientious this year about what I'm buying in terms of art supplies. So a lot of these things have been on my wish list for quite a long time and it's not going to be a huge haul. I know that sometimes there are videos here on YouTube that are massive and it's like every single thing that you would ever want, but I'm trying to be really mindful about sharing an excess amount of materials and I really want to use what I have this year. So some of the pieces I bought are replacement colours for shades that I'm running low on and a few things that, like I said, have been on my wish list for a while. I also want to share this pencil roll, so I've only shared this on my Patreon so far, but these are the art supplies and the materials that I took with me to London. I didn't manage to do a huge amount of plein air painting, but I did do some sketching whilst at the Cezanne exhibition, so I'll show you my setup as well. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So this is my homemade pencil roll. It isn't perfect, it's a bit slapdash, but I made this last year, so we went to Santorini on holiday and I wanted to take something that would be a bit more easier to access than just my usual pencil case, which is just like a zip bag, which I usually throw all my Neocolors, pencils and brush pens in. But I found I was having to root right at the bottom and I wasn't sure how well I'd be able to spread out in Santorini. So I made this pencil roll just using some fabric I had in my stash. And like I said, it's definitely not perfect. It's not super well made, but it's worked really well for the purpose that I need. So this is how it looks. You can see it's definitely getting a bit messy and dirty from where the Neocolors have rubbed off. So I thought I would just show you this because I haven't shown it here on YouTube before and I wanted to share what I took to London with me. I chose a dark colour because I knew that it would get a bit messy, you can see over here as well. But it's got this little pouch that I put in, which has the two clips which I use to hold my papers together. So when I'm working in my sketchbook, so this little pink Talons one, this is the 12 by 12 centimetre. This is what I took with me to London because it felt like a really easy size. It wasn't too overwhelming for me to fill the whole page, especially because I knew I would be short on time. But this is what I use just to hold down my pages, which is helpful for when I'm photographing the work and also when I'm working, so that if I am doing plein air painting outside, the pages aren't flapping about. So you might see these in a lot of my photos. These are the sketches I did at the Cezanne exhibition. Here's some pictures of me drawing. It was very, very busy, so I was a little bit conscious, but once I started drawing, it was like I went into my own world, so I didn't really notice that there were people around me. These were super quick, so I think that it was like 10 minutes for both of these. And then I did do some other studies from the exhibition when I got home later that night and did these ones, which to me are a bit more successful, but that's because I had more time. I think this one's my favourite. I really loved the Cezanne exhibition. Unfortunately, it is ending, I think, tomorrow when this video goes up, but I am glad I saw it before it finished. So those clips are always really helpful when I'm going plein air or outside. And I also had a pencil sharpener. This one's quite a good one because it's got the two different size holes. So sometimes the Luminance or the Derwent drawings don't fit in a standard size. Back here I've got some more little pouches. This is generally where I keep my brush pens, and then I've got my pencils and Neocolors down here in these slightly shorter little pouches. These have got stitching all along these lines, so this was a really helpful fabric to use, but it means that you can fit one pencil per little pocket, and sometimes I can squeeze in two if I'm trying to really take a lot more material, so that's helpful. But it's also good for me to try and actually limit the supplies I take because I tend to overpack. But like I said, this is where I keep my brush pens. These are the 3 Tombos I took with me to London. Just a 553, 126 and a 992. Just because this would be good for trees. I really like using this shade for shadows, and then this beige or dark beige for like buildings and things. I didn't actually use many of these materials when I was there because obviously I only did those quick studies. So I think I only used 2 colours for this one, and then this one was a few more colours, but I didn't actually use any of my brush pens. I stuck to my coloured pencils. So I'm not going to go through every single shade, but if you did see one that you like the look of, then do let me know and I can tell you what shade I've got here. In this one I've got some more colours, so these are my more neutral colours. These are Ecoline brush pens, and then this Posca marker, which I've really been enjoying using lately. And then, like I said, I've got my coloured pencils in these pockets. These are all a mix of Luminance and Derwent drawing pencils, which I'm really enjoying using lately as well. And then down here I've got some of my shorter pencils and also my Neo colours. So just a mix here. These are all Neo colour 2s, and then the really small little broken ones go in these little pockets down here. I am finding this really helpful for when I'm going outside, and like I said, it was helpful on holiday because it meant I didn't just get everything out on the table, or when I was sat on a little rock in Oya and I was drawing the view in front of me, it meant I didn't have to keep rifling through my pencil case to try and find a specific colour. I could lay this out on my lap and just take things really easily. So I'm definitely a fan of this pencil roll, and it's very homemade and very rustic, but it's perfect for when I'm going outside. And I really do want to do more plein air work this summer. I've got this little flap at the top, and then it just folds in and rolls up with these ribbons securing it and keeping it all nice and tight and safe. So now let's move on to the art supply haul. I'm going to start with these 2 sketchbooks. So I had planned on buying these from the London Graphic Centre, but unfortunately they didn't have any. They only had a few Royal Talens sketchbooks and they weren't this brand. So this is my preferred sketchbook of choice from Royal Talens, which are the Art Creations. So I bought these from Amazon because they weren't available at the art shop, but these are the 13 by 21 centimetre size, and they're the exact same size as these ones, which are my go-to sketchbooks for the daily art, and I will leave a link up above if you want to see some sketchbook tours. So these are my preferred choice. They're very affordable, and that makes them feel a bit less daunting when I'm working in them because I'm not being precious about the paper. It's really smooth, slightly off-white paper, and these are just my go-to, and I'm going to definitely be using them constantly in the future. I haven't had these colours before. I've now got a light pink, a coral and a yellow, and then these 2 colours will just continue adding to my little rainbow collection. So onto the London Graphic Centre. This is my favourite art shop to visit when I go to London, and I was able to stock up on quite a few of my favourite things. I also picked up these 2 little plastic clips. These were £3.50 each, but I thought they would be really handy for when I'm sketching and also for my journals as well, when I'm working in my traveller's notebook. Obviously, like you saw, I have got the clips that I put on my sketchbooks either side, but this could also work when I'm out and about because it just goes over the top like that, so I can hold things steady just with the one clip. And if I'm working in multiple sketchbooks, then these just feel really easy to use, and they're also super lightweight because they are plastic, so that's handy for when I'm taking my backpack full of things when I'm plein air painting. Next up, I bought a new Ecoline brush pen. These are some of my favourite brush pens, and I do have a few that are running low, but you can refill them. You can buy little bottles of the ink and refill them yourself, and then also use the bottles as like watercolours. So I'm really interested in that, so I'm not going to replace the ones that are running out. I'm just going to buy the refillable ink. But this is a shade that I didn't have. This is Warm Grey 718. So I thought that we could do some swatching of all my new supplies, because I've been very restrained and I haven't swatched them yet either. So that is a really nice mid-tone grey. I am actually going to compare them to my other 2 Ecoline greys. So I've got the 704 grey. So you can see that's a lot cooler. It's kind of got a purple undertone. And then this is a 728, which is running out a little bit, but you can still see it there. And that's quite nice actually to have 3 different tones now. I've got the light, the mid-tone, and then this one's kind of darker, but you can definitely see it's warmer. So I'm looking forward to using that for my landscapes, for like rocks and stones and things. And then onto my Luminance. So 2 of these are replacements because these are my 2 most used and favourite Luminance colours. We've got the 661 Light Cobalt Blue, and if you've seen any videos on my channel before, you're probably familiar with these shades. And then the Olive Yellow 015. I really love using this shade for grass and for greenery in my landscapes. Then I also got 2 new shades. So the Luminance pencils are quite expensive, and so I'm slowly building up my collection and buying a few new shades at a time. This time I went for Green Ochre 025 and the Anthraquinoid Pink 571. So this is more like a ochre than a green, but definitely nothing like a pencil that I've currently got. So that's always good to get something completely different, and I think that will pair really nicely with this one. And then the pink is very different for me, but I wanted to get something really bold, and it looked like such a lovely shade. It's quite a warm pink, and again, not like one I've got in the collection, and that's 571. And I think actually these go really nicely as a colour palette. I think they complement each other really nicely. So those are the pencils. And then I also bought a white Woody pencil. So I have shared these on my channel before in this process video, where I used the red and the blue ones. I was lucky enough to receive a multi-pack of these for Christmas, and I really wanted to try a white. So the multi-pack didn't come with a white, but I thought it would be interesting to see how it layers, because I was really impressed with the Woodies and how they layer over different mediums. So I'm just going to see how it layers over this grey. It's not super bold, but I wanted to compare them to Neocolors. So let's see how a white Neocolor does. So it's quite similar in terms of the shade. I wonder if it would go over the Neocolor better than the Neocolor. So I'm just going to swatch a colour and we'll see how it layers. I do want to do a whole new video about Woody pencils because I've been enjoying them so much, so I'll try and do a review soon. So the white Neocolor doesn't really go over. It does kind of blend in a bit. You can see it's made it a little bit of a lighter blue. And then the Woody. Okay, the Woody is the same basically. It does feel a lot creamier and smoother, but I am a little bit disappointed that it's not a super bright white over the top. But good to experiment with, and I think it will still blend really nicely with the other Woodies. Like I said, I'll do a whole new video about these, and I think it will be helpful to have the white in my collection. I also bought a new brush. The round brushes are my favourite, and I really enjoy using the De La Rowney graduate range. This is the size 10, which is the size that I use most often, and really helpful for landscapes and creating really big marks, as well as being able to do quite a fine point. So I'm looking forward to using that. And then I also bought some Neocolors and some Sennelier oil pastels, which I'm really excited about. I've been wanting to get some of these for ages, but because of their cost, I have been putting them off. So I'm going to swatch those in a moment, but first let me show you these Neocolors. I do feel like I've got enough Neocolors, but I do use them a lot, so I wanted to try 2 new shades that I haven't had before. This is the olive brown. So again, it's more of a brown than a green, but you can definitely see it's darker than this green olive shade from the Luminance. I'm just going to compare them with my other Neocolors. So this one is the light olive. This one is the raw umber. So I think that goes really nicely with them. It's nice to have a mid-tone, and I think I'll get a lot of use out of that one. And then this one is the greyish black. So I thought this looked quite similar to the Payne's grey that I've got. It's definitely got a blue tone. I would say it's darker. It's more like a really dark navy than a grey or a black. I'm just going to compare it to a black, which is this one. And then this is the grey Neocolor. So again, it's a similar sort of blue tone as that one. And then this one is the Payne's grey, which I thought was the most similar. And it's very similar actually. I think the Payne's grey is slightly more blue toned, but actually it's not very different. So I probably didn't need to buy this one if I'd have known. It's almost the same, even though the colours here in their packaging look very different. On paper, you can barely see a difference. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I do use these quite a lot, so I'm sure I'll get use out of them. And then onto the Sennelier oil pastels. I have got a pack of Pentel oil pastels that I haven't used yet, but I was really excited to get these because they are so creamy, and I've seen some really lovely pieces of art made from them. Oh my gosh. They're very different to Neocolors, which is what I use the most, because it's just like I'm gliding some like really soft butter on the page. I'm really not pressing hard at all. So I'm going to have to really adjust how I use them, because when I use Neocolors, I press quite hard, which is why a lot of them are snapped. This one is the number 86. It's a little bit lighter than what it shows here, but you can see already that just that tiny bit is like denting in, so you can see how soft these are. And then to pair with that, I got the 206, which is a lighter green. This one feels more like a oil pastel wood. It's got a bit more resistance compared to this one, which was super, super soft. They are way softer and more buttery than the Neocolors and smudgeable. These ones you can smudge a little bit and you can use with water, whereas obviously these ones are oil, so they don't mix as well. So I think that will create some really nice textures, and I'm really looking forward to exploring those in my artwork. And then I went kind of bold with this blue. This is number 6. And this one is similar to that first one, very, very soft. Feels a bit less rough than this middle one, which you can see there, the roughness, but this is super buttery. I feel like I've got to be careful not to make these super precious, because obviously I'm aware of the price and I have to be careful when I'm laying them down, so I'll just need to be a bit more aware of that. But I really love this blue. Again, I think it's lighter on the page than it is on the stick, but I really love these shades and I think I'll use them a lot, which is why I picked these specific colours. So the last thing that I want to show you, I picked up from Choosing Keeping, which is a really beautiful stationery shop in London, just off of Covent Garden, and it's not far from London Graphic Centre, which is where I bought the rest of these art supplies. I haven't been to Choosing Keeping before, but it was on my radar and I was so happy to have finally visited, because it just feels so curated and it's such a beautiful store. I'll put some pictures here of some pictures that I took whilst I was in there, but it really is gorgeous and the staff were really friendly and helpful. So I picked up some ink. This is obviously for my stationery collection and my daily journaling. If you saw my New York haul, then you'll know that I picked up a new fountain pen, and so I picked up this Smoky Grey Kaweco ink cartridges to go in that fountain pen. And then this was the main purchase from there. This is a bottle of natural liquid ink in Kendal green. So I did some research on this brand after I'd bought this bottle, and their values are to create very natural ink from natural products. So it wasn't something that I was aware of when I bought it, but I just really love this green. I'm going to swatch it for you because it's not really showing up in the camera. This is very different to the usual stuff that I use. I obviously use gouache a lot and sometimes acrylics, which is a lot thicker. So this is going to be a lot more like watercolour. You can see how liquidy it is there. So I'm just going to grab a brush, and I also think it would be helpful to see how it works on this Royal Talens paper. Oh, I think I should probably, maybe I should shake it first because that seems very watery. Okay, I've given it a bit of a shake. Let's try it again. There we go, that's more the shade that I was expecting. It's still very watery, so I don't know if I've got blue on this brush or if it's from the... It must be from my brush. Let's try another one. This isn't going quite as smoothly as I expected. Oh, I think it is in here. Maybe it needs more shaking, because I can really see, I don't know if it's coming on camera, I can really see where it's picking up little blue pigments. Maybe that's just because it's a natural ink and so it doesn't blend as smoothly. Let's give it another shake. I don't know if maybe the pigment has settled, but this was an on display one because this was the last one that they had left in the store. It's not mixing. I don't know where that's coming from. That's really interesting though, and I think it will be interesting to play with, but it creates its sort of own little texture. This is very wet and watery on this Royal Talens paper, which is wetter than I usually go. If you do use these inks yourself, I'd love to know if you find this as well, with the little like blue stripes in there. I'll hold this up to the camera so you can see but you can see where there's like blue bits of pigment in there. So it's not quite how I imagined it would be, but I think it will be interesting to use because it is very watery and very different to how I usually use my inks and paints. I think you can really create a lot of texture from this. I've seen an illustrator, Julia Bethin, who uses a lot of inks like this, and she often wipes it away and it creates even more texture, so I think that will be really interesting to play with. And it was £12 for this little bottle, so I think that's quite reasonable, and I think it will work really well as a base. But that's the last thing that I bought in the haul, so back to me in the extra to do a little roundup of this video. So I hope you enjoyed watching my little art haul and seeing my pencil roll and my setup for when I go outside and do plein air drawing or painting. If there's anything that you're thinking of adding to your wish list because of this one, do let me know down below in the comments, or if you think there's some specific shades that I also need. But I'm really happy with what I got, and I hope you enjoyed watching. I'll be back next Sunday with a new YouTube video, so I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you then. See you later.